Okay, my name's John Sidhu. I'm a partner in Glue Reply, and we're a specialist consultancy. We specialise in architecture primarily. My career to date, I started my career as a research and development engineer as such, doing programming, and I quickly realised that consulting fitted my skill set better, and so I moved into a consulting role, and this was with Hewlett-Packard. I enjoyed it, and it was around the dot-com boom of the early 2000s, and I decided to join a startup and move away from Hewlett-Packard, and so I did that, and it was a really great challenge because I learned about all the skills around consultancy, around client engagements. I learned a lot about going into situations where you don't always have all the right answers, but you still can help the client get to the solution they want to get to. And so that was really good for me. I got some very early opportunities in my career to do architecture and consultancy. And so at Hewlett-Packard, before I left, I'd done a couple of major pieces of architecture work, and that led on to me doing some major pieces at the startup I was at. And then subsequent to that, I joined Glue, as it was, which is the company I now work for, Glue Reply, and I primarily worked as an architect and worked up through the grades as such in the organisation. I took on things like account management responsibilities, which was good because it's very close to some of the core skills you need as an architect, because you have to do things like lobbying and influencing people. And so account management, business development is quite close to that in terms of the skill set. And so it helped me grow my career, and I got exposed to all kinds of different situations, and ultimately led me to end up being a partner in Glue Reply. And I was heavily involved in Glue got acquired by Reply, which is an Italian system integrator and an organisation around digital transformation, and I was quite heavily involved in the acquisition process, in the due diligence process, and so I got to know the organisation that way as well.
So, what were your main reasons for joining BCS?
I actually joined BCS as a student, so BCS at that time, I don't know if they still do it or don't do it, did kind of like a round of all the different universities who had degrees that were certified with BCS, or the Engineering Council, I guess, and they came to us and they explained what the BCS was doing, and I thought absolutely that's something I want to do. I think one of the key things that appealed to me was that, I suppose, the concept of it being a profession, not just a jobbing type career, and that being a professional in it was a certain bar level which I would want to aspire to, and when I achieved it, I could differentiate myself as an individual against other people in the industry. And I suppose as I've gone through my career, I've realised even more so the value of it, because in the same way as I talked about going to a dot-com startup when I started quite early in my career, I quite early on realised that there's a lot of people in IT who don't necessarily have the competencies necessary to be a professional in the industry, and so the differentiation between being a professional and not being a professional became increasingly important to me as my career went on.
Fantastic. Now, you're a chartered member.
Yes.
So how did you find the CITP assessment process when you did it?
So I did the assessment under the old process. I became CITP in 2009, and the process was quite smooth, I suppose. I think through the application process you have to reflect a lot on your capabilities and think about how you project the things you've done in the way that they've developed your career. So you know, sometimes you go through your career development and a good proportion of it's unconscious career development. It makes you reflect and think more about the conscious things, think more consciously about the things you've done in order to develop your career. And so I found it quite a good process, and it not only probably reflected to me the things I progressed with, but the things that probably I still needed improvement on, which is quite an interesting journey to go on, I would say.
Okay. So how has CITP status helped you in your current role and in your career as a whole, and what were the particular benefits?
So I believe it's really important for the IT industry to embrace the CITP and become a profession in a proper way, as professions like accountancy are, where people basically wouldn't give somebody a role to do their books unless they believed that the person was a chartered professional in their industry. I think our industry should be like that, because actually when you're handing over responsibility to do anything related to IT, it almost always has a major implication on the organisation, particularly the things we do, but in general, and therefore there's a degree of professionalism you want out of that, I would say.
Okay. So what advice would you give to someone thinking about applying for CITP status?
I think it's very worthwhile. I really strongly believe in the professionalisation of the industry, and I believe the CITP is the route to that, and I would say to them they should absolutely do it, and they should absolutely make sure that they're capable of doing it, and actually going through the process and making sure you've got the necessary competencies at the level and the level of experience is an important part of your own career development in any case.